All right. Hello, everyone. We are here today for Finding Pride in the Workplace. It is a panel with our wonderful Pride Network from GE Appliances. They're going to talk through some different things that they have at their um, employment, as well as some questions that you all may have in terms of being LGBTQ and going out into the workplace as you're getting some of your first jobs or graduating and looking at things beyond where you are. I will be moderating today, but I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to start us off.
All right, thank you, Rain, for the great introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa, and I have been with GE Appliances since a co-op ago. I have the pleasure of sharing a little bit about our company with you as we talk about finding pride in the workplace. So with that, let me tell you a little bit about who GE Appliances is and what we do. So we're just over 14,000 employees globally. We operate in 42 of the 50 states here in the US. And a fun fact for you is that half of all US homes actually have a so next time you visit a friend's or as you walk through your own house, you may notice that GE monogram logo on several of your units, and you'll know that you're part of that 50%. We are owned by Hire Company, which is the world's #1 appliance brand. Hire is on the Fortune 500, and they operate in 100 countries and regions globally. We've been owned by the Hire Company, so an idea. So sometimes students will say, so are you GE or not? And we say, well, we're GE in heart and we're GE in heritage, but we are GE Appliances, a Hire Company in formal name. A few other fun facts for you to take a peek at. I'm not going to go through each of these, but one that I think is pretty interesting is the top left. So we actually produce 2,333 units every hour. And so when you think about, how many appliances that is, that's quite a lot. Our call centers are processing 4.7 million calls a year. And so, not only are we, building those units going out the door, but we're interacting with our customers a lot, all the time, all year round. I want to share with you our house of brands because, again, getting back to that question, are you GE? Are you not GE? How do you operate? How do you go to market? I think it's really neat for you to be able to see, the 6 brands that we do operate under. So when you walk into Lowe's or Home Depot or Menards or really any place where you could buy a home appliance, you'll know that it's coming from GE Appliances. So we operate under the Hire brand as well as Hotpoint. Of course, GE itself, a brand called Profile, Cafe, and Monogram as well. And so those are all the brands in which GE Appliances manufactures appliances, home appliances. A couple awards, just again, a little bit about our company. You'll see here I'm a little bit in a row being honored with that recognition as I do our campus recruiting. So I'm pretty proud of that. I think all of you hopefully will be proud of the fact that GE Appliances is on our 4th year as a company, but also as being recognized by the CEI for getting 100% on Corporate Equality Index. In addition to that, you'll see some engineering awards, some, kitchen and bath design awards, and, just some things to be proud of about our organization. It's not just our awards that matter to us. Volunteerism is important too. It's, ingrained in who we are and what we do. Giving back to the communities where we live and where we work is important to us. So last year, we logged more than 17,000 hours in community service, mentoring, just projects in the area to really make our communities better places to live and, of course, to work as well. I also want to touch on, really kind of this heads into where we're going in our discussion, which is our affinity networks. So GE Appliances has 9 affinity networks, and these really exist to, engage our employees no matter where they are, no matter what background they come from. And this is, again, also part of the culture, who we are and what we do. And with that, I'm going to actually turn it over to Chris, and I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about our Pride Network before we move on.
Yeah, so at GE Appliances, like Melissa said, we have affinity networks. They're also called employee resource groups or business resource groups. The Pride organization has been with GE or GE Appliances since about 2004, I believe. And what we do is we kind of organize and advocate for LGBTQ employees. We want to make sure that we have inclusive policies for those employees. We do important things like go out and self-certify on the Human Rights Campaign DEI. That's something that we as an affinity network take on ourselves. And we go out and kind of do that exercise to make sure that people know that we as a company are a great place to work. We advocate internally to make sure that we are educating and explaining to everybody across the entire company, all 14,100 people, to make sure that they understand why it's important that we have inclusive policies and who their coworkers are, and make sure that those people are treated with respect and dignity, and make sure that they are great people. We also do things externally. We volunteer in the community, like Melissa said. We are in that 17,000 number as well. We also make sure that we show up at Pride Parade here in Louisville. We participate in a couple of different Pride events here locally. And that's kind of who we are.
Thanks, Chris. So with that, I want to go through and do some introductions for each of you so that you know who from our team is here today to speak with you more about their experience, being out in the workplace, but also, their experience as employees of GE Appliances and their experience of seeing Pride in progress or in the workplace. So before we do that, I know all of you will be joining us at a different time from a different place, and that's okay. If and or when you have a chance to see this recording, we'd love for you to text GEA Pride to 502-912-8754. If you're also viewing the slide deck, we have a QR code up there. And when you, of course, scan that, it will take you out to the same place the text keyword will. And that will just let us know that you've joined us for this event. You're welcome to share your information with us, and especially if you're interested in an opportunity now or in the future with the GE Appliances team, it's a great way for us to know who you are. And there is also an open box in there for any questions you may have. So if you have any questions after going through this recording, you're certainly welcome to share them there, and we will hopefully get back to you with answers to those. So with that, Chris, now you can give your official introduction.
Hi, I'm Chris Jackson. I started with GE about 9 years ago, and I actually started with GE Lighting. So back then I was hired on the GE Lighting payroll, and Melissa, fun fact, was my HR manager. So we've been together for a while. I moved over I was in the cash applications world, which is receiving all the cash incoming, moved into lighting and appliances side, kind of did some of that stuff. From there, I moved to accounts payable and did some accounts payable stuff before I went into our sourcing organization. I was a buyer for us for a while, and now I sit on our lean enterprise team. So that's a little bit about my career. Outside of that, I used to like to travel back when we could do those kinds of things. Internationally, I love England. I studied abroad and miss England very much. So as soon as we get done with this pandemic, I'm going to get on a plane and might not come back for a while.
Hopefully you're still working remote then, Chris, because if you don't come back for a long while, someone will notice.
That's right.
All right, up next we have Katherine. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katherine Caverno, and I have been with GE Appliances for about 7 years now. Like Chris, I started on the General Electric appliances route as a technology co-op. And then I moved into the Edison program, which is an amazing program. It's a 3-year rotational program where you get your master's as well as rotate throughout different product lines, working on different designs, different applications. So I did that for 3 years. And once I graduated with my master's, I was promoted to a design engineer within the ice and beverage filtration team. So we work on ice makers, filtration products, as well as water dispensers and anything kind of related to that part of the refrigerator. And then just last year, I was again promoted to a senior design engineer level within the same team, and that's where I sit today. In my personal time, I love to travel just like Chris. I'm also a big sports fan. I went to Michigan State and I love watching their football team and basketball team play during the fall and the spring. And I also love to cook and visit my family in my spare time. And the love of my lives are Kona and Cora and Cooper, all pictured there on the top, our pets, as well as my lovely wife pictured there as well on the slide.
Thank you. Jason, you're up next.
All right. Well, hey, everyone. My name is Jason Ostrander. I've been with GEA for a little over 15 years now. I also started as a co-op on the supply chain side of things. And through that co-op, had the opportunity to join GEA full-time on similar to what Katherine was just talking about on the technology side. I joined the GEA's supply chain development program. So I had the opportunity to go through a 2-year rotational development program in several different areas of the business. So very, just a really, really great experience. And coming off program, joined our transportation team. And then in 2010, had the opportunity to move into a corporate finance role for a couple of years. Had the opportunity to travel around the world, move to corporate headquarters, phenomenal leadership development experience. Just as a note, it was actually during that time, the 2010 timeframe or so, that I came out in the workplace. So there was a lot going on, very positive in that time. And then in 2012, I came back to GE Appliances, back to Louisville, rejoined as a distribution program manager. Was that for a couple of years. And then moved into what we call our fulfillment organization. So was supporting our sales team, making sure that we have product available when our customers order it. And for the last 3 years, I've moved over to our sourcing or procurement organization as a global sourcing manager. So currently I have suppliers around the world in Asia, Mexico, Europe, that I'm responsible for getting parts into our factories. Got a few photos here. I too, like everyone else so far, really, really love to travel. That's my number one thing. I always say my happy place is a window seat on an airplane. So during this time, I'm really missing flying. But I'm also a pretty big foodie too. So Louisville has some pretty good restaurants. So I've been enjoying that. And outside of that, like to be outside, hiking, family, art museums, really into golf, and also love big cities and exploring big cities.
I feel like I need to get out more. You guys all like to travel. Sarah, redeem me here. Please don't say travel's your favorite thing to do. You're up next.
Right. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Morris. I also started at GE as a co-op in technology. I've been at GE for 4 years. I don't know if I just said that. So after co-op, I came on as an Edison engineer in the electronics group. I recently rolled off program and graduated with my master's degree, and then I have switched over to the software engineering team, and I'm currently working in the cooking embedded systems department. So in my personal life, I do love traveling also. My girlfriend just moved to Philadelphia to do her residency program. So I've been able to go up there and explore the city, which has been really fun. Haven't been able to travel anywhere else, unfortunately. But aside from that, I love to cook. So I've been doing a lot of that. And then I really like to play soccer. So that's me.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, so Rain, I am going to turn it back over to you, and you can, kind of begin the panel discussion, and I'm confident that our team's ready to answer any questions you can throw their way.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing a little bit about yourself with everyone. It's always great to know who we're hearing from and who we are talking to. So I have a couple of questions here for you, some like general ones as well as some that are more intentional and connected with the Pride Network. So I won't point these at anyone in particular. I don't think I said earlier that my pronouns are they, them, and I'm assistant director in LGBTQ resources because that is who I am. So one of the first questions that I have for you is, have you always been out in the workplace? If not, how and when did you decide it was acceptable to be out at work?
Well, I guess I'll start here since I actually kind of touched on that subject a little bit. So like I said in my intro, I joined GEA in 2005, but it was really not until about 2010 or 2011 that I decided and was comfortable to come out in the workplace. So at that time, I was on a very global team, very inclusive team. It was at that time that I actually got really introduced to the GEA or to the GE General Electric Pride Affinity Network. And I saw the great engagement there, both from individuals who were out, but also there was a really strong network of allies that were participating in that group. And so over the course of a few months and going to a few meetings there, started to get a lot of confidence and felt it was time to be out in the workplace. And once you are able to come out, it really does truly allow you to be your authentic self. And so it's been overall since then a very positive experience for me.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
So GE is actually the first company that I've worked for that I have been comfortable being out. So that was actually really refreshing because I was used to like not really being open with my coworkers. So I never really connected with them because, it's hard to connect if you feel like you're hiding part of yourself. So it was really great to come to GE and see, like Jason said, the affinity network, see that there are other out people, and then so many allies that are so accepting. So that's been one of the really great things about GE.
Yeah, I think for me, it was a combination of both knowing about Pride, the Affinity Network, but also being part of the Edison program. So when you're part of the Edison program, you are surrounded by 10 to 20 people within your same 2 to 3 year range. So they become like your friends and your family, and you hang out with them outside of work. So then your personal life and your professional life somewhat merges together at that point. And then once I had those relationships developed through the Edison program and finding out about Pride, that's when I felt comfortable to fully be out in the workplace and know I was protected by both my friends and allies as well as the benefits at GE Appliances.
I'll go too, might as well. I've always been out at GE Appliances. I joined in 2011. So at the time, I think I used the HRC CEI actually as a guide to rank companies, and then kind of looked in the general areas that I wanted to work in, Louisville being, primary, and never really felt like I needed to hide who I was because of that ranking system. And then seeing our own internal HR policies and knowing that, there are protections because of Jefferson County and those kinds of things. So I never felt the need to not be out at work, especially when I started this role or these roles.
Awesome. That is also a great segue into the next question. So do you have any advice for those who are entering the workplace on how to find out about the workplace culture and things before, while they're in the application process or before they start working somewhere? So for, yeah, and for Chris, can you also expand for those who may not be familiar about the, what you mentioned, the tool you
Yeah, yeah. So whenever I was looking at employers and kind of where I wanted to work, I used that HRC list as kind of my starting point, because what it does, or what the CEI is doing, is taking publicly available information, or in our case, we provide it because we're private, and looks at HR policies. It looks at what the company is doing, for the community kind of at large, and kind of says, assigns a numerical value, and says on a scale of 0 to 100, 100 being the best, 0 being Chick-fil-A, this is a good company, or this is a bad company, or whatever. And so that's kind of how I went about trying to find a company where I knew I could be comfortable and bring my whole self to work. After that, it's, looking on social media, looking at LinkedIn pages, asking around from professional networks and saying, hey, what have you heard about GE appliances? Are they good? Are they not? When I joined, it was big GE. So it was, the entire globe was basically available to work at, and appliances just happened to be headquartered in my backyard. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of what I did. Also reaching out to people, using that LinkedIn network and saying, hey, can you give me some insight into what's going on? Is it okay for me to be there and be myself? Can I be super gay, or should I hold it back? It's those kinds of things which you can use that network and kind of figure out a little bit more before you actually want to go work for the company, because you do spend a lot of time at the company.
Yeah, so to expand on that a little bit, I mean, one of the things that, and like I said, I've always worked for GEA, so I've never had a need to look outside. But one of the things that I would recommend, and I've noticed, and Chris touched on this a little bit, specifically over the past couple of years, it seems like there is a lot of companies really embracing digital inclusion and diversity, right? And so I think you can get a lot from a company's digital presence, and understand, if they are, really embracing that as part of their true culture, putting LGBT employees front and center, sharing their stories. And you can start to really get a sense if it's something that they're just doing to make a show, or if it's something that's really truly authentic and who they are as a company. So I tend to keep an eye out for that just myself. And then we can kind of bring some of those ideas back to GEA2 as we look to build on and expand upon our own digital presence, which in my opinion has evolved so positively in the last two years itself. So that's what I would recommend.
And I turn my camera back on because I want to jump in on this one. I would encourage every student to simply ask. I think as an interviewer myself, it's my responsibility to represent my company. And so if you ask me a tough question, you can gauge my reaction, right? Am I comfortable answering it? Am I confident answering it? Am I willing to say, hey, I don't know, but I'll get back to you? Or do I clam up and cave? I mean, it sounds terrible, but I think it's true. I think when you're in an interview setting, maybe you don't come out guns a-blazing with the hardest question you could possibly think of, but I think to engage with the interviewer and simply ask, hey, is this an open and inclusive culture? What type of affinity networks or ERGs or business resource groups do you have available for employees? Can really give you a perspective. And that interview is as much about them getting to know you as it is about you getting to know the company that you're considering working for.
All right, thank you. I'm not cutting either of you off, right? Okay, cool. So I noticed that most of you have like engineering degrees. We have a student organization here called STEM Queers that originated out of the College of Engineering. Do you have any advice, like specifically for STEM oriented folks in terms of finding like positions, or who are worried about how their identity might impact their ability to be successful or grow in their careers?
So I'll take this one to start off, and I'm sure Sarah can join in. I would really recommend trying to go for some sort of development program right out of college. And I know a lot of companies do offer these nowadays. And that development program will help you grow relationships with your coworkers immediately. And I know that's one of the things when you first go into a new job and a new career, you don't know anyone, and you're trying to gauge, are they going to be accepting me? Are they not? But with the development program, you have a family, you have a base to be your support. So I would definitely seek out companies that are inclusive and that have some sort of technology development program to get your ball rolling a little bit.
So one of the things that I'll say specifically, if you're interested in coming to work at GEA, one of the things that I talk to a lot when I'm recruiting for entry-level roles as an engineer specifically, have in your mind, are you like a technical design engineer like Katherine and Sarah, or are you someone who enjoys more of the supply chain, manufacturing, working on equipment out in the factory? Maybe it's distribution, procurement, like where I am in. Have an idea, if you are interested in coming to work for us specifically if you're an engineer, what type of engineer you are. And then you can come in very confidently and say, yes, I want to do a co-op or an intern that puts me on a trajectory to join the Edison program, or an intern or co-op that allows me to do the supply chain development program.
And I'll just quickly say that I think, along with like finding a development program, I think co-ops are also a really good opportunity because it's not very long. So you can kind of gauge how a company is, and then if you don't like it, your next co-op, you can go somewhere else. So that's kind of what I did, and I thought it was really useful.
So just to add on to that point, when I'm at career fairs for undergrads, I love it when, even though we don't hire freshmen, we start to hire in the sophomore year. But I love it when a freshman comes up and says, tell me about your company, or I'm trying to learn a little bit. So I would recommend, getting out to career fairs as early as possible. And then like Sarah said, 100% recommend, doing co-ops or multiple co-ops or interns if you can. You're going to get so much valuable experience both while you're, with the company, but then when you come back to campus and you're finishing out your degree, the perspectives that you have in order to put everything, what you're learning, it just makes it so much easier to visualize and conceptualize. Okay, yeah, I've actually done this, in the real world, so it's very easy for me to now do this, in the classroom.
Awesome, thank you. And then I know we talked a little bit about allies, but then also I know that the Pride Network has allies within it. So what do you see as the role of an ally, and like how can folks help be more supportive, and then help build an open and inclusive culture in the workplace?
Don't everybody take their phone off mute at once.
Waiting on Jason to jump on it first.
No, that was that's you start, Chris. This is your wheelhouse.
Kind of. So in our Affinity network, actually, we have about 400 people, I think, in the Pride Affinity network, and about 95% of them actually are allies, which there's a debate in the LGBTQ community, should we include allies? Should they be kind of separate? How do they function with us as a group? At GE Appliances, it would be just like 23 of us if we didn't have our allies. But I think it's really important to make sure that we do have allies who are educated and understand kind of our perspective. So if we are not at that table when something is being brought up, when a company issue is being talked about, if there is something else going on, that we have people who know and are thinking about how something could apply to the LGBTQ community. I mean, we have allies that are across the entire organization. We have people in our C-suite. We have people who are just crunching numbers on calculators. I mean, it's everything, right? And so we rely on those allies to be our ears and eyes whenever we're not in some of those spaces. So that way we can make sure that our culture is inclusive and we are making space for everybody at the table. Jason.
You said it perfectly, Chris.
I'll jump in on this one. I think as an ally, being an ally in the Pride Network is important to me for all the reasons Chris just said. I want to ensure that I know and understand some of the challenges that come with being LGBTQ in the workplace. What does that look like? What does that feel like? How is that different than when I show up in the workplace? And I think all of our panelists kind of touched on it. It was, hey, Jason kind of mentioned once I came out, I was myself, right? It's a little bit of a freeing experience. And, Sarah shared in her prior job, prior to coming to us, she wasn't. So when she came here, she was like, all right, Katherine mentioned having that sense of community. And, as an ally, that's my responsibility to make sure that I'm ensuring, that open, inclusive culture exists, that sense of community is there. And, that each and every one of the employees in our business knows they can be themselves at work every day, no matter who or what that is or what it looks like.
So I'll just give a quick example of, why allies are important and how they can really help build a more inclusive culture. And it comes down to simply, using inclusive language, but very subtly, right? So, I mean, and you see this a lot in professional meetings, but, someone, will say, your wife or your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, right? And so somebody simply, having the conversation in a group of people where they use the word partner as an example, to introduce that to a group of people, is an example of why, allies are very important, because that's sending a subtle message to, anybody that's part of the LGBT community that, they are, it's a safe place for them, and they recognize that they're going to stand up for you, to kind of build on what Chris was talking about, being your eyes and ears, either while you're there or while you're not there as well.
Thank you. And then talking about more on those like subtleties, but then also navigating conversations when people are asking you about like your life or your partner or your weekend. So how do you navigate conversations like that, as well as some of the more subtle things in the office, like bringing in personal items if you are LGBTQ or you're not in a heteronormative relationship? What is that?
Okay, I'll just jump in because no one else is. Like I kind of said, personally, I just was out the second I came to GEA. I had a coworker one time turn to me and be like, oh, I have a niece who's looking to date. And I was like, Barb, I'm gay. Just straight, no, don't have time. So I've never really been concerned about it, but I know that is not necessarily the case everywhere. GEA just happens to be a very inclusive company when it comes to this particular topic. Behind me is actually something that used to sit on my desk. It's the first pride flag that we ever flew at GEA. That would just sit there. So I've never really been super concerned. But I would say, if you're not sure, or if you're not sure you can kind of have those conversations, try and find somewhere that you can. I know you can't do that at work in every company in all Kentucky. That's just not the facts. But if you can't be your whole self at work, find a place where you can, in the community, volunteering, find an outlet for it, because if not, you are going to be miserable, unfortunately. I'll leave it up to the rest of you to have a more optimistic point of view.
I mean, I agree with Chris. I'm out and proud. I have a flag at my desk. I have pictures of my family at my desk. If I was at a company that wasn't inclusive and didn't protect me, I would find another company, because it's so much effort to hide who you are and not be your full authentic self. And your life is short. There's no time for that. So I would find an inclusive company using the resources we have talked about before, and get there.
Those were the primary questions that I had for you all. Is there something I didn't specifically touch on that you all want to share with the students, with our different audiences who might be watching this at a later point? I know there were a lot of other ideas that you all shared prior to starting.
Maybe we could just go around the room, everybody give a last parting word. Jason, you're at the bottom of my screen, so you go first.
All right. Well, again, thank you for the opportunity here. I would say from my standpoint, GEA is a very inclusive place to work, right? So none of us have to, worry about, being our full authentic selves at work. So I very much appreciate that. The one thing I'll say to, all the students out there, specifically on, on the STEM side of things. I mean, you saw at the beginning of the presentation, text GEA Pride. We are, constantly on the lookout for engineering students to come into our co-op programs. We do a lot of recruiting at UK. So whether you're going to be a design engineer on the Edison side of things, or a production or a supply chain engineer on the supply chain development side of things, definitely, reach out to us, through that, so we can start to engage in a dialogue and see if there might be a good opportunity. If you are in an engineering degree, but yet you don't have the confidence, or you're unsure about coming into a corporate environment, as being LGBTQ, I will definitely tell you that, GEA is a very inclusive and welcoming place. And, we would love to have you come in and do at least a co-op or intern with us. And then, ideally turn that into, a long career as well.
All right, Sarah, you're above him. What's your parting words?
I think Jason pretty much covered everything, so I'm just going to say thank you for having us. This was really nice to do.
All right, Catherine, we're making Chris go last, so you get the second to last word.
Again, Jason said a lot of it. One thing I will add is, as part of the Pride Network, we also are looking at making sure we have inclusive suppliers as well. So not only is our internal company very inclusive, but we are looking at everyone we purchase from as well, there are a lot of suppliers. And we're doing this on a global base as well, not just in the United States. So great company, very inclusive, a lot of opportunities here. We would welcome you with open arms to join us.
All right, Chris, last word.
So I would say there's so much benefit to being involved when you get to a company if you can find something like we have Pride, ERG, or Affinity Network. It allows you to do a lot of things that you probably wouldn't normally do in your normal day-to-day job, like getting to hang out on the Pride float, which is always fun whenever we can do those kinds of things. But it also helps you kind of connect and see all different types of what a company can do. Like we said, we're a big company, 14,000 people here at GEA, and we do a lot of stuff you probably don't even think is an actual job. So by getting involved and getting connected and networking, that really allows you to see kind of the whole company and kind of lets you see everything from marketing to branding, everything, all of it. The other point that I would have, and I did not come from a development program, so I'm program agnostic. We also have development programs for our IT. We also have development programs for finance, and we have development programs for sales. So it's not just my engineer friends who are around me. We do have a lot of other development programs as well. I know we are talking to the engineering schools, but we do have other programs as well.
Thank you everyone so much. And, Rain, thank you for this opportunity to meet with UK students. We love to be able to tell our story, to share who we are and what we do and what we believe in. And, we really appreciate your time. And for all of those who are listening to this on recording, we appreciate you tuning in as well.
Did you have any parting words?
Nope. Everybody else did such a great job.
Well, thank you all for being here.